Episode 81. I'm Billy. That's Tim. This is All the Everything Podcast.
Well, welcome to our summer short series where you guys get to enjoy a 30-minute-ish episode to devour during the summertime when you're busy. Well, there ain't nothing to it but to do it. Are you ready, my friend?
You better believe it. Let's get into all the everything, y'all.
All the everything. 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 Podcast! Welcome to the madness.
Welcome back to yet another amazing episode of All the Everything Podcast. As always, I'm one of your co-hosts, Tim Sawhook, and I'm joined by my traveling friend, the guy who's going to go to Alaska and leave me behind, ladies and gentlemen, Billy Parchman.
That's right.
So, Billy, what do we have on tap for them today?
Well, to quote the great Ron Burgundy, boy, that escalated quickly. Things got really out of hand. It stepped up a notch, didn't it? It did, didn't it? Yeah.
I love the fact that you're doing all the voices.
Yeah, I'm just doing a whole play right here.
Oh, that was amazing. I just kind of thought, well, I'll sit back and just watch them just do the whole podcast.
That's right. Yeah, no, we're talking about stories that just, they start off normal, like a normal story. And then all of a sudden, boom, wow, that escalated quickly. So there we go.
Yeah. All right, William, do you want to kick us off today?
Let's do it. Oh man, I have a story for y'all. Whew, okay.
I cannot wait. Cannot wait.
Let's take off here, if you will. So in September of 1985, the year that my beautiful bride was born, a man, that part was me, not part of the story. Okay. There you go.
I'm glad you clarified. Yeah.
Yep. She's not involved in this story.
Now she is.
Yeah, now she is. A man named Andrew Thornton climbed into a small airplane loaded with cocaine and prepared for what should have been a fairly routine smuggling run across the southeastern United States. At the time, drug trafficking was exploding across America, especially throughout the South. And Thornton was deeply involved in transporting large quantities of cocaine from Colombia into the country. Now, what nobody realized that night was that within a matter of hours, this operation would spiral so completely out of control that it would eventually create one of the strangest true stories in American history. So the story begins with Thornton himself, because before becoming a drug smuggler, Thornton had been a police officer, a lawyer, a former Army paratrooper.
What?
He came from a wealthy, he said he had a very eclectic resume, if you will.
Yeah, really. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He came from a very wealthy Kentucky family and had a reputation for loving expensive clothes, dangerous situations, and living completely without moderation. Friends described him as charismatic, reckless, and convinced that he could outsmart almost anybody. And for a while, he did. And by the mid-1980s, Thornton had become involved in this large drug trafficking network, moving cocaine into the United States by planes. The operation relied on small aircraft carrying shipments across state lines and dropping packages in remote areas where partners would later retrieve them. It was dangerous work, but also extremely profitable. Cocaine was everywhere during the 1980s. Celebrities used it. Wall Street businessmen used it. Nightclubs practically ran on it. There was enormous money to be made, and Thornton was determined to cash in. Now, on the night of September 11th, Thornton took off in a small twin-engine plane carrying more than 70 pounds of cocaine packed into duffel bags. The plan was simple: fly low, avoid detection, dump the cargo at a designated location, and disappear before authorities even realized what had happened. At least that was the plan. Now, somewhere during the flight, Thornton realized that he had a serious problem. His plane was overloaded and became difficult to control. Investigators later believed that he had panicked after noticing that the aircraft was struggling because of the weight of both the cocaine and the additional equipment on board. In an attempt to save himself, Thornton began throwing bags of cocaine out of the airplane over the forest of North Georgia. So imagine driving through the mountains and suddenly seeing duffel bags full of cocaine raining down out of the sky. That alone would have been enough to make this story legendary. But
Yeah.
things were only getting started. At some point after dumping the cargo, Thornton decided to bail out of the aircraft himself. Now, under normal circumstances, this might have actually worked because remember, Thornton had been an Army paratrooper.
Right.
Jumping from airplanes was not exactly unfamiliar territory for him. Unfortunately for Thornton, something went terribly wrong during the jump. Authorities later believed that he either hit his head or became tangled in the parachute harness, or simply just lost control because of the heavy load that he was carrying. Whatever happened, Thornton never successfully deployed his parachute. The next morning, residents in Knoxville, Tennessee discovered his body lying in a driveway. The scene was so bizarre that police initially struggled to process what they were looking at.
Right.
Thornton was dressed in expensive clothing, wearing Gucci loafers. He had night vision goggles strapped to himself, body armor, multiple weapons, thousands of dollars of cash, and packets of cocaine taped directly to his body.
Oh my gosh.
Nearby investigators also found identification linking him to the crashed airplane. To make the situation even stranger, the plane itself continued to fly after Thornton jumped. Without anyone controlling it, the aircraft eventually crashed in the mountainsides in North Carolina.
Okay.
Now, at this point, authorities believed they had already uncovered one of the most wildest smuggling disasters imaginable, right? And then the bear enters the story. That's right, y'all. Deep inside the Chattahoochee National Forest, one of Thornton's discarded duffel bags had landed unnoticed among the trees. Inside were several packages of cocaine which had burst open on impact. At some point during the following hours, a black bear wandered through the forest and discovered the bag. Now, when most people hear the phrase cocaine bear, they usually picture something completely insane. Most imagine this giant bear sprinting through the woods in a chemically enhanced rage, attacking everything in sight, like some kind of woodland supervillain. Years of internet jokes and eventually a Hollywood movie only made that image stronger. But the real story was actually much stranger because of how quickly everything ended. The bear consumed an enormous amount of cocaine and he died almost instantly.
Oh, wow.
Medical examiners later stated that its stomach was packed with the drug. The amount was catastrophic for an animal that size, and they're pretty big.
Yeah, they're big.
Yeah. Cocaine dramatically increases the heart rate, body temperature, blood pressure, and in large enough quantities can trigger seizures, stroke, and cardiac arrest, which is what happened. And the bear died very quickly.
I feel sorry for the poor bear.
I know that he was just minding
He
his
didn't
own
know.
business. He didn't know. He wasn't
No one ever
drug
told him to say no to drugs. He didn't
That's
know.
right. Smokey only told him not to set fires. That's all he knew. I mean, come on. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's right. When investigators eventually located the animal, they found it lying near an open, torn bag of cocaine deep in the forest. The official medical report listed the cause of death as respiratory failure, heart failure, stroke, and kidney failure. So, in other words, the cocaine essentially shut down every major system that was inside this animal's poor little body.
Oh.
And honestly, most stories would end there. Drug smuggler dies, bear eats cocaine, case closed. But somehow the story still has a little bit more chaos left in it, right?
Okay.
Once the media had learned about the bizarre chain of events Newspapers across the country became obsessed with this story. Americans could not believe it was real. Just the image of a bear accidentally discovering millions of dollars worth of cocaine in the woods sounded less like actual history and more like a rejected comedy strip. Reporters began referring to the animal as Cocaine Bear,
Of
and the
course.
nickname stuck permanently. And then the legend started growing. And over time, rumors about the bear had gone on rampage. Some stories claimed that it attacked hikers, others claimed it terrorized entire sections of the forest. None
Mm.
of those stories were actually true, but people loved the idea so much that the myth continued to get bigger every year. And now, meanwhile, the actual bear's body took a strange journey of its own. Because, I mean, why not?
Yeah.
Instead of being buried or disposed of, the bear was preserved through taxidermy.
Oh my gosh.
And somehow he became a roadside attraction in Kentucky.
That's
Travelers would
crazy.
go see this stuffed bear that became the myth, the legend, the cocaine bear. Now, decades later, Hollywood discovered the story and immediately realized it sounded too good and too ridiculous
Yeah.
not to turn into a movie. The film adaptation transformed the bear into a bloodthirsty monster tearing through the
Mhm.
forest in a cocaine fueled frenzy. Almost none of it is historically accurate, but honestly, that barely matters.
Yeah.
Yeah. The real story was already unbelievable enough. But what makes this true story so fascinating is how quickly normal criminal stupidity turned into complete insanity. A smuggler overloaded the plane. He panicked, dumped the cocaine in the wilderness. A bear found it. The bear overdosed, and the smuggler fell from the sky wearing Gucci loafers. The airplane crashed itself into a mountain. The bear became a tourist attraction. Hollywood turned it into a movie and into a cultural phenomenon. And
Mhm.
every step somehow becomes more absurd than the one before it. And maybe the funniest part of all of this is Andrew Thornton spent years building this dangerous criminal empire
Mhm.
only to be permanently overshadowed by a black bear that stumbled onto the wrong duffel bag.
Right.
History has a cruel way of being like that, right? Some
Right.
people become famous for changing the world, others become famous because a bear found their cocaine.
This is such a crazy story.
Oh my
I
gosh,
remember when
yeah.
the movie came out, and I was like, "This movie seems stupid." And then I found out it was based on a real story. I'm
Real
like,
story.
You've gotta be kidding me."
What?
Um, but I never
What?
heard that the poor bear died so fast.
Instantly. Oh, but then they made it
Poor
into a roadside
I was
attraction.
wondering, did the bear's, like, little claws have a little baggie
Oh
hanging
my
next to
gosh,
it?
and just like a little line.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah, you
no.
left a little bit
Oh
there, yeah.
no. Oh no.
Oh, that was really good. That was good.
Thank you. Thank
I know
you.
you, told me you were gonna do the cocaine bear story, so I knew kinda what you
Right.
were doing, but some of these details are just so crazy.
Oh man. Well, yeah, that escalated quickly, huh?
So, my story also has a Billy in it, by the way. So, when you hear me talking about Billy, it's not Billy Parchman. It's Billy
That's right.
who
It's not me.
observed this whole story go down. Here we go. Everything about the wedding seemed classy. Not Pinterest board trying too hard classy, actual classiness. The kind of wedding where the invitations arrive in those real like thick envelopes that make you feel poor just by touching
Mhm.
them, those
Mhm.
envelopes. Billy and his wife arrived at the venue around 4:30 wearing the nicest clothes and pretending they belonged there. The ceremony was being held at this beautiful outdoor estate with perfectly trimmed hedges, hanging lights in the trees, and a fountain that looked expensive enough to have its own security team. A string quartet played softly while the guests walked around holding champagne glasses and saying things like, "We just got back from Tuscany."
Hmm.
Billy leaned toward his wife and whispered, "Those people definitely own boats." Um,
Right.
they're rich. They're rich.
They're
Um,
rich.
So next, the appetizers came out on tiny trays carried by waiters who somehow never looked stressed out. Nobody knew what half the food even was. At one point, Billy grabbed something that was wrapped in prosciutto and asked the waiter, "What exactly is this?" The waiter smiled politely and said, "It's goat cheese crostini with fig reduction." Billy
Ooh.
nodded confidently like he understood every word. Then
Yep.
he quietly told his wife, "I heard 3 foods and none of them sounded real."
Yep.
So, anyhow, the ceremony itself was beautiful. Perfect weather, perfect sunset, perfect vows. There wasn't a dry eye in the crowd. Even Billy got emotional,
Oh.
mostly because the groom mentioned how he knew she was the one after she brought him soup when he had the flu.
Oh.
Billy whispered to his wife, "That's love right there.
That's love.
That's love, baby."
That's
Then
love.
came the reception, and more importantly, the open bar. Now, every wedding has that one guy. We can all picture that one guy in our heads right now. You
Right.
know the guy. The guy who hears open bar and immediately decides this is no longer a wedding, but a competitive sport.
Right.
That wedding had Trevor. Was Trevor also in your other Nate?
Yeah, Trevor was in my story with Billy. Yep.
That is crazy. I
on,
guess
the
the water real
last,
quick.
on the last episode, yep, and our Nope episode, yep, there was a Trevor and a Billy. I wonder if they're part of the same friend group.
They may be. All right. They get
Same.
some shenanigans. So
Oh
anyhow,
man.
this wedding had Trevor. Trevor arrived at cocktail hour, already acting like he just signed a sponsorship deal with whiskey. He was tall, loud, way too confident. And by 6:15 p.m., his shirt was untucked on one side, like his body had
Ooh.
already started giving up.
Sure.
It's about to get crazy.
Mhm.
Billy first noticed Trevor while standing near the bar. Trevor slapped the counter dramatically and yelled, "Double whiskey, bartender!" The bartender blinked slowly and said, "Sir, these already are doubles." Trevor then pointed finger guns at him and said, "My man." Bad
My
sign.
man.
You always have
My
that
man.
weird person who does something weird and acts like they know you. They're like, "My man." You're like, "I don't
Yeah.
want to be associated with you. Get the heck out of here." So after he yelled, "My man," that was a bad sign. By dinner, Trevor had become everyone's problem. He laughed too loudly at every joke. He interrupted conversations he wasn't even part of. And he kept telling random strangers, "I could have gone pro." Nobody knew in what. Not a single clue. Basketball, baseball. He just kept telling people, "I could have gone pro." And someone said, was it competitive yelling? The mystery only deepened more when Trevor nearly fell over trying to sit down at his own table. At one point, he cornered Billy near the bathroom and said, "You ever think about horses, like how they know where to go?" And Billy stared back at him for a second and said, "What?" And Trevor nodded seriously, like nobody gives them directions. They just know where to go. Then he looked at him and he walked away. Billy stood there completely stunned. Like, what just happened to me?
Good talk.
Yeah, okay.
Good talk.
Then the reception rolled on. People danced, people drank. Everything still somehow felt mostly under control. Until around 8 p.m. That's when the DJ invited all the couples to the dance floor. The lights dimmed, a slow song started, people gathered together romantically, and Trevor misunderstood the assignment completely. Because instead of slow dancing, Trevor sprinted onto the dance floor like he was entering WrestleMania. The DJ looked confused, the bride looked nervous. Trevor pointed at the crowd and yelled, "This party needs energy!" And before anyone could react, he attempted a split. Now, here's the important detail. Trevor absolutely could not do a split, not even close. But his body descended toward the floor with all the grace of a collapsing bookshelf. The sound he made hitting the dance floor caused nearby guests to just gasp like simultaneously when
Oh
it just fell
no.
over. Even an old woman looked over, whispered, and said, "Sweet Jesus." Trevor, you can picture that old woman. Sweet Jesus.
Yep.
Trevor remained motionless for several seconds. Everyone thought he actually might be dead. Then suddenly, he gives a thumbs up from the floor. The crowd awkwardly applauded. Huge mistake, because now Trevor believed he had crushed it.
Yep.
He jumped back up, fueled entirely by whiskey, misplaced confidence.
Yep.
The DJ tried to transition back into the slow dance, but Trevor, he had other plans. He
Mhm.
marched directly to the DJ booth. The DJ instinctively pulled the microphone closer to himself.
Yep.
Being a former DJ at weddings, I've had to do that move.
Yep.
Like a soldier protecting classified information. Trevor, however, snatched it away and said, "Ladies and gentlemen," the speakers blasted with feedback from his loud voice.
Sure.
People winced. Trevor spun dramatically. He said, "This wedding needs energy." The groom looked exhausted already. The bride looked like she was accurately calculating homicide laws. Trevor
Right.
then connected his phone to the DJ equipment somehow, which honestly nobody has ever experienced. And suddenly, "Yeah" by Usher explodes through the speakers at maximum volume.
Yeah.
The mood changed instantly. Yes, thank you, Billy. Grandparents looked terrified. Children got excited. One bridesmaid yelled, "What the hell is happening?"
What is going on?
Trevor started dancing aggressively.
Oh.
Like, not good dancing either. The kind of dancing where it looked like someone's trying to remove bees from their clothing. They're just getting
Yep.
like nuts and throwing
Yep.
their body everywhere.
Mhm.
He spun, he kicked, he pointed at random people like he was hosting a game show nobody wanted. Billy sat there and watched in amazement. He whispered to his wife and said, "You know what? This feels historic. We're going to remember this night."
Uh-huh.
Now, they looked at Trevor, and now he was sweating aggressively. Like his tie had disappeared completely. Nobody knew where it went. At one point, he slid across the dance floor on his knees and accidentally crashed into a centerpiece. Flowers launched across the room. Still, somehow, the wedding survived. Barely. Then destiny arrived. Near the edge of the dance floor sat the wedding cake. 3
Oh,
tiers, white frosting, beautiful decorations. Probably cost more than Billy's first car, he thought. And Trevor began drifting dangerously close to it.
oh no.
And then it was that moment.
Yep.
One bridesmaid actually whispered, "Oh no." Trevor spun dramatically, and while yelling lyrics to Usher, "Yeah," his elbow flew backward, clipped the cake stand, and not hard, but just enough because the cake wobbled, right? The room froze. It tilted slightly. Everybody paused, then slowly began collapsing in cinematic slow motion. First, the top tier slid off, then the second, then the entire cake folded sideways like a delicious avalanche. People screamed, like actual screaming. One bridesmaid dropped her drink. A little kid yelled, "The cake!" Someone near Billy whispered, "No, no, no, not the cake." The cake hit the floor with a horrifying splat.
Ooh.
Frosting exploded everywhere. The bride stood frozen in shock. Trevor stood directly beside the records, covered in icing like a confused birthday clown. And somehow, he was still holding on to the DJ's microphone.
Oh gosh.
The silence was unbelievable. Then Trevor looked around at the destroyed cake, looked back at the guest. "Well, we can still eat that. It's salvageable." The room collectively died inside. The bride burst into tears immediately.
Oh.
The groom removed his glasses and just stared in the distance like a man reconsidering every decision that led him here. Billy whispered, "Oh, he's absolutely getting murdered tonight." So the DJ quietly restarted the background music like a medic continuing the surgery during a battlefield
Right.
attack.
Mm-hmm.
A wedding coordinator appeared out of nowhere at Olympic speed. Bridesmaids surrounded the bride. Meanwhile, Trevor attempted to help, which somehow made everything worse.
Right.
At one point, he bent down to save part of the cake and slipped directly into the frosting back onto the floor. Covered in cake, still drunk, still somehow holding onto that microphone, the microphone screeched again as Trevor groaned, "I'm okay," as he laid on the floor in a pile of frosting. Finally, 2 groomsmen grabbed Trevor under the arms, dragged him toward the exit while he protested loudly, "I was just trying to hype people up," as they grabbed the microphone away from him. Out there. Can you picture this? This
Oh
makes
my
me laugh so hard. Outside, things somehow escalated further because
Oh,
Trevor
gosh.
decided he wasn't leaving immediately. Unfortunately, Trevor was in no condition to drive. Fortunately,
Right.
he did not have access to a car. Unfortunately, he did discover that the venue had a golf cart. Billy only learned about this later because at the time, inside, everyone was trying to emotionally recover from the cake Armageddon.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, Trevor slipped into the golf cart and shouted, "Nobody can stop me!" which honestly is exactly what someone about to be stopped actually says. He peeled away from the property approximately 7 miles per hour. Witnesses described it as aggressively slow. Trevor attempted to turn, missed entirely, and drove directly into a decorative hedge. Not through it, into it. The golf cart became stuck immediately. Security guards approached while Trevor was trying to unsuccessfully hit reverse as he
Right.
was screaming, "I know my rights!" One security calmly replied, "Sir, this is just a wedding venue. Please calm down." Police arrived shortly afterward. At this point, Trevor had frosting on his jacket, leaves in his hair, and somehow only wearing one shoe. Nobody knew where the other shoe went. Police helped Trevor out of the golf cart while he continued arguing about his rights and his invisible logic that he had as he was kind of ranting and shouting. And in the most incredible timing unmanageable, inside the reception hall, Sweet Caroline began playing. So while Trevor was being escorted off the property by police, a room full of wedding guests in the background could faintly be hearing yelling, "Ba, ba,
Yep.
ba." And Billy said it felt less like real life and more like the ending of a comedy movie. And somehow, the wedding recovered. The caterers brought out emergency dessert trays. The bride fixed her makeup. The groom returned from whatever emotional wilderness he had briefly entered into. People started dancing again, carefully, very carefully. And by the end of the night, the couple still got their sparkler exit. Guests lined the walkway holding glowing sparklers while the newlyweds smiled and waved like nothing catastrophic had happened to them. Billy watched them leave and he shook his head. "You know what? This marriage is going to last forever." And his wife laughed. "How do you know?" Billy looked back toward the venue where the police lights still faintly flashed near the fountain. Because if they can survive Trevor, they can survive anything.
They can survive everything. Yep.
I can't believe this was a true story. Like,
Oh my gosh.
in my head, as I'm telling the story, when I was reading it last night too, like I pictured a version of this guy named Trevor. He doesn't have like the defined features. You can just see this dude, right?
Right.
And we all know this guy. I know plenty of them from DJing all these weddings, who always wanted to come up and try to grab the microphone, who always got too drunk and made
Yep.
a mess. Yeah, it was just a disaster.
Yep.
But anyhow, that escalated quickly.
Wow.
I think I had said that with a wisp. I said that escalated quickly.
Yep.
I
Yep.
meant to say that escalated quickly, everybody, if you didn't hear that.
Oh, Trevor. Trevor. What's up with
Classic
these Trevors,
Trevor.
man?
I know.
Yeah.
And the whole time I'm telling the story, Billy, I'm picturing you actually. I pictured you and Michelle sitting in that lobby talking during
I'm the
thing.
Billy. I'm the Billy in this story. Yep.
Yeah. You weren't really, but to me you were,
Right.
as I was visually
Yep.
here. I picture you talking back and forth to Michelle about this being a disaster or whatever.
Yep.
But I
like
honestly think if it was you, Billy, you would probably grab that guy a little faster than those groomsmen and got him out of there.
I think I would.
That's kind of like the guy you are. You're like, nope, that ain't happening.
Hey, you come with me, bro.
Yeah.
Come on.
Come here. Let's talk about those horses again.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Oh,
Well, I hope
shoot.
you thought that was funny. If you guys like these short series, they're quick, they're fun. Let us know, and Billy, where can they give us that feedback at?
Yeah, find us on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, and TikTok. Those are our main socials. Just type in All the Everything Podcast. And if you want to join our group chat with other fellow podcast listeners, our
Yes.
family, you get that exclusive content there. It's absolutely free. Just send us a message and we can get you added.
Yes. We love for you guys to join us. Like we always talk about building a community with you all, but we need you all to help build a community with us. So
That's right.
do some work. What are you actually doing with your life?
That's right. We're doing our part. You do
We're
yours.
doing our part. We're here. We're recording 45 episodes this week. No,
That's right.
Not quite, but we do
But
our
close.
job. But do your job. You're already listening. You're already here. So join.
Yeah.
Just join the conversation. So
Yeah.
well, anyhow, like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed these stories today and enjoying our short series. And we can't wait to have you back again next time for yet another amazing episode of All the Everything Podcast. I hope you guys have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, y'all.